Distinguished colleagues, given the pressing issue of enhancing food security and agricultural productivity within our beloved nation, Nigeria, we must acknowledge the growing concern surrounding food insecurity despite the vast agricultural resources at our disposal, including over 80 million arable hectares. Although only 34 million arable hectares are actively being cultivated. Honorable colleagues, our collective effort must focus on addressing both demand and supply factors along with the persistent challenge of food price inflation. Through thorough analysis, I have identified 4 critical levers for improving food security: increasing per capita consumption, raising production yield, curbing food price inflation, and reducing reliance on food import. Today, we are going to have a conversation that will be championed by you, where you will express yourself on the questions coming from the constituents, which the people in charge of this sector will be given opportunity to address. I now invite the Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Food Security to address the House on agricultural sector. It will take this format. You have 10 minutes to let Nigerians who are represented here know where you are coming from, where we are at the moment, and where we are going. After that, we will also have other guests make their presentation. And then questions will now be addressed to each of you, one after the other. Before you mount the rostrum, was seconded, but the voting from the House debates commences, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Debates commences, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Minister, please.
The program is the National Agricultural Growth Scheme Agro Pocket, which is partly funded by the African Development Bank, the Islamic Development Bank, and also the intervention by the federal government, and of course by the benevolence of the National Assembly for giving us the budget allocation to carry out that strategy. The second phase is that of the rice, maize, and cassava. However, that is not the only commodities that we are going to deal with under the National Agricultural Growth Scheme. We also have sorghum, soya in the wet season. Now, what we have charted for the rice in the second phase is the cultivation of 150,000 of hectares under the NAGS Agro Pocket, and then also in the intervention, the support of the deficiency, because there's a deficiency in the NAGS. Let me give you an example of the deficiency I'm talking about. In the wheat program, the NAGS calls for 50% subsidy. When we had the calculation at that time, for 1 hectare, the EOP for that, the inputs is 360,000 naira, and the 50% is 180,000 naira, which means that the farmer was expected to come up with 180,000 naira upfront and to be given full inputs of 360,000 naira worth of both fertilizer and pesticides and herbicides, and the seeds are free. Whether it is wheat, rice or maize or cassava or sorghum or soya, all the seeds that were given are free seeds. So that was a big challenge to farmers. You could imagine what it means for a small rural farmer to come up with 180,000 before planting, and then for him to get that value of inputs. So we decided in the second phase to scale it down so that it will be affordable to the farmer. We approached Mr. President, and he graciously approved that we do whatever is possible for the farmer to have access to capital, to have access to inputs. So what we did was, in the 150,000 hectares of nags, it still stands at 50%, and then we reduced the size of the farm. In the wheat, we did one farmer, 1 hectare. 1 hectare, for ease of reference, is equivalent to about a little bigger than a football field. So we felt and believed that that size is too much for the small rural smallholder farmer. So we decided to scale it down and apply double the number of farmers and reduce the size. So we reduced it to half a hectare and double the size of farmers. So for 150,000 for the nags, we're going to deal with 300,000 farmers. So with rice, the amount of inputs for rice is less than that of wheat. In the wheat, you need about 10 bags of fertilizer. In rice, you need 6 bags of fertilizer per hectare. So for half a hectare, we decided to use, we are going to give 3 bags of fertilizer and all the herbicides and pesticides, and the seeds, like I said, are free. So when we did the EOP, we found out that even the price was about 304 for half a hectare for rice, and for what at the end of the day the farmer would pay was about 75,000. But we decided to offtake that so that we give additional 1 bag of fertilizer so that the farmer will pay only 16,000. And the only reason why we did that was that so that the farmer will have a stake in what he's doing. In addition to that, after he's been funded and supported with all the materials, we are going to, at the end of the day, offtake 2 bags of 75 kilograms each of paddy from the farmer. That 2 bags will go directly to the food reserve. So that, in a sense, is something that we are going to incentivize the farmer in the rice second phase, and we intend to, Mr. Speaker and distinguished members, we are going to roll out that program starting from next week from Niger, and then we move into the other areas. So then the issue of, well, let me just say that for the wheat, we did in 15 participating. There's only 15 states that can do wheat. So we did in the 15 states. But for the rice, it's all across 36 states and FCT. And of course, there are some that are more, like for instance, in rice, Kebbi is #1. In wheat, Jigawa is #1. In rice, Kebbi and Niger are #1 states for rice. And the same thing will also apply for the additional 100,000. Mind you, for the rice, we're doing 250,000 for 150,000 for nags and 100,000 for special intervention from the federal government. So we're looking at a total of 250,000 hectares of rice for the dry season, which will mean impacting on 500,000 farmers, and which will have an estimated yield of 1 million tons. For the dry season, let me put it in this perspective. The whole demand in Nigeria is about 9 million tons of rice a year. We produce about 8.4 million tons. In the dry season, we produce about 3 million. With direct intervention, anywhere between 2.5 to 3 million. With the direct intervention of President...
Order, please. Order, please, honorable colleagues.
Of government is, will give us an estimate of about 1 million tons of rice within the next 3 months. So what we are seeing is that even if you take at 2.5 beyond the government intervention, it is going to be about 3 million or 2.5 million tons of rice, which would be about 30% of our need, and that will be able to take us through up until the rain season, at the end of the rain season, when we harvest another 6 million tons of rice. Maize is not as much as rice in the dry season, but we intend to cultivate about 55,000 hectares, which will impact 110,000 farmers and a yield of 220,000 metric tons. Cassava also, is 35,000 hectares with 70,000 farmers and a yield of 525,000 tons. With the immediate...
Chief Whip, I think you are...
Honorable Minister,
carried away by...
Take 1 minute to round up, please. Thank you.
Well, it's a matter of the day today, so I think, but forgive me for that, I will round up very shortly. But for the immediate plans that we have...
Yeah, let's give him more than that. 1 minute is... We are talking about food security. We need to hear him. Others will be shorter than this. Others will be shorter than this. It's about food security. Let's hear him. It's very important.
Okay, I give him an additional 1 minute.
We have in our reserve, what we met was 53,000 metric tons of assorted grains. We have asked and gotten approval by Mr. President to distribute 42,000. We have remaining of 11,000 is for strategic storage, simply because you have to have a threshold for any, but God forbid, any eventuality that may befall in this country. So we have 42,000 that is in the process of being bagged, and also the NEMA is handling, and the Office of the NSA are handling the distribution, and they are mapping out the matrix of the vulnerability persons across the country. So that is ongoing, and it will soon be rolled out. Then in addition, we also have the ECOWAS rotational technical rotation, which have given Nigeria 5,000 metric tons of assorted grains as well. So that will be added to the 42,000 and the 5,000 and will be released very soon. The medium and long-term solutions, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues here, is that we have to make agriculture business-oriented. Today, we find out and we see that people are just doing agriculture as a means of survival and subsistence. We have to make agriculture business. We have to turn it around. Like I said, for the wheat, I remember when I was addressing some people at Hadeja when we launched the first phase of the NAGs on the wheat. We just did a simple analysis and made a small calculation. For 1 hectare, you need about 700,000 naira as at November last year to cultivate with irrigation and all that. And in 1 hectare, you can get 4 tons. 4 tons is 80 bags of 50 kilograms each. Each bag of wheat at that time was 50,000 naira. That's 4 million naira. And you invest 700. Okay, you invest 1 million. In 3-4 months, you have 3 million in 1 hectare, in the size of a football. In fact, there was an oil magnate that I was talking to when I gave him this, and he said, that he thinks he's in the wrong business. I think we need to turn our attention to that. I would want to plead with the Honorable Speaker and members of the House of Representatives. Agriculture is one of those areas that are excluded for public servants to participate. You can make huge impact. You have the resources, I'm sure, to make incredible impact and investment in agriculture in your society. Let's join hands and do that and turn agriculture into business. Let's incentivize and also educate our people to go into agriculture. The other issue that I would like to discuss and talk to you here, the steps that we are taking, is the issue of mechanization. This is something that is a huge setback for us as a country. We are under-tractorized. Today, I'm not too sure if we have 5,000 tractors working, fully working in Nigeria. We need over 72,000 with what we have in terms of arable land space. So we have signed an MOU in last year in November with John Deere, a huge company of agricultural equipment from America. And the MOU seeks for John Deere to bring in 2,000 tractors a year for the next 5 years, making it 10,000. As I'm speaking to you, they are in Lagos today, and they will be arriving Abuja this evening, and we're going to hold a meeting for the second time with the partners that are here, because Mr. President wants the 2,000 tractors to arrive before the advent of the wet season. So the other one is the green imperative. This green imperative has been on the table for the past 6 years. However, I think it has kind of come to the fore now on the burner, and we received the ambassador at the office of the Vice President. He received the ambassador of Brazil, which were the countries that are facilitating the Green Imperative program, with the representatives of the Deutsche Bank. It's a $1 billion arrangement where they are going to have service centers in every local government. What that service center seeks to do is they will have tractors, they will have extension services, they will have aggregation of harvest and even storage. So it's a whole one-stop shop for agro services in a local government. So the other one is the Greener Hope program. Also is similar to that of the Green Imperative, which will also, the Greener Hope has 1,000 service centers, and so that means the more the merrier. Like I said, if John Deere is bringing 2,000 a year, it will be only 10,000 in 5 years. Greener Hope also will seek to do similar to that, but what we need is more, and we're looking at other opportunities for others to participate in the mechanization program. The other aspect that I'd like to also mention here is we have mentioned that the farmer needs access to capital. This is one big impediment that the local farmer and the small-time farmer has. So we are looking at recapitalization of the Nigerian Agricultural Insurance Corporation and that of the Bank of Agriculture. The setup of Nigeria Agricultural Development Fund is also here, and we have the MD of NASAL. We, at the level of the ministry, we have had a joint meeting between NASAL, NatFund, and also Bank of Agriculture to see how we can help and incentivize our farmers by giving them access to low-interest funds. That is the key, low-interest funds. Farmers are willing to take, but when the interests are high, I think we have a way, because NASAL was also part of de-risking of lenders. So then the other challenges that we have is, apart from what I have mentioned, climate change and what have you, we also have the issue of migratory birds and cross-border pest control, and also infrastructural development. I'm happy that a lot of our members we have seen in the 2024 budget with a lot of constituency projects targeted towards agriculture, but we still need more from you. Hopefully when supplementary comes also, you can assist. So like I said, the issues are many, but I'll just round up. I'll give you issues like storage facilities, rural roads, market infrastructure, research and development. We are lacking in research and development. When you look at our research institutions are not heavily funded. They need a lot of funding, because what is key today is good variety of seed. Seed is the foundation of any agricultural situation. When you don't plant a good seed, no matter whatever you do, you can put all the best fertilizer and what have you, it will not yield the sufficient the yield that we're looking for. And especially today, we're looking at increase in yield per hectare, because we are, like I said, impacted on several things, that our land mass is shrinking, population is growing. So we need to, at least with the small land that is remaining, increase yield production. So there is also access to land. We need to prepare and develop a lot of land. Thank God
Honorable Minister.
we have.
Honorable Minister. You need 1 more minute.
I just want to talk of livestock. It's very important.
Oh, yeah.
Livestock reform is extremely important.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think we need to understand, because when you look at agriculture in itself, a lot of attention is being given to production, crop production, increase in yield, but livestock is another huge investment that we need to untap. And that will also mitigate what we call the farmers' hardest clash. We need to develop that. Mr. President will soon inaugurate a committee that will look into the implementation of the livestock reform that was submitted to Mr. President.
Is giving very valuable information. And we can only hear him in silence. And Nigerians are watching how we are paying attention to issues of food insecurity. Please, let us maintain the level of decorum we've always maintained. It will be done soon, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So that very soon, Mr. President would inaugurate the committee to look into the livestock reform. Then the other issue that I would like to mention here is the issue of collaboration with large-scale investors in the agricultural field. Yes, I know we have been talking about small-scale holder farmers, but those small-scale holder farmers are, apart from contributing into the food supply, but we're also empowering them and giving them opportunities to grow. But the large-scale farmers, we have seen that they have huge impact on the food security of this country, especially in these challenging times. So we are already in discussion with a lot of them, flour mills, Wakot, Afex, Olam, and the likes. There's also the issue of, I would like to mention this, we had an issue about 2 weeks ago. In fact, that is what is also creating the delay in rolling out of the dry season, the lack of fertilizer, or the price of fertilizer that is becoming unaffordable to the local farmer. We had engaged our 2 main fertilizer producers of urea, Dangote Fertilizer and Indorama. Notori is another one, Notori, but it's not in production. What we came to see, Mr. Speaker and honorable colleagues, is that for the production of urea, gas is the #1 and the only feedstock for urea. And to our shock and surprise, that gas is priced at international market price in dollar. And we have engaged NNPC. First, there is no availability of gas. Second, there is also the issue of the pricing mechanism. So we pleaded, and then we discussed, and when NNPC has agreed to look into it, but we want the Honorable House to also assist, so that this is a local resource. This is God-given resource to Nigeria. Why should it be priced at the international price? The other issue is that there is an agreement for those major urea manufacturers to supply 35% to domestic, and then 65% they can export. That 35% is enough to feed our industry. But they are not doing that simply because they said they don't have gas. Some of them have a capacity of 8,000 metric tons a day, but they could hardly meet up with 3,000. So they have other obligations in terms of loan repayments and forward contracts that they have signed with externally that they need to come up with. So we need NMPCL to supply gas to these manufacturers so that we can have, and then give them price for the 35%. They can charge them for external, but for the 35% that is for local production, we should be charged in an equitable price format. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I stop here, but I'm willing to take any questions or comments or concerns that may be raised from this hallowed chamber. Thank you very much, sir.
Moment, we will call you again when the question time approaches. Thank you for your presentation. I'm sure members have generated questions from what you just gave. Members raising your hand, please wait. Question time will come. We have other presentation before we now go into question time.